for the first time ever, we're going to talk about the new album, Sacrificio.
Yeah.
It's been a 5 year gap since the previous one. Obviously, you've been very busy with Brujeria, and Lockup's been doing a few shows here and there as well, and of course Pentagram. Um, what makes this album different from the previous album? Having that 5 years difference, what makes it a different record, a different criminal?
Well, we had a very important lineup change. Zach O'Neill is no longer with us on drums. And we have a Chilean guy called Danilo Estrella now, who brought a lot of enthusiasm into the band, and I think he also reconnected us with our more Latin roots. And in terms of the music, there's a very important rhythmical aspect on this new album that maybe went missing on our last few albums. In a way, I've always felt that when we moved to Europe, when we started the band again in Europe, we kind of got our sound got a bit too European. It started sounding like many other bands from Europe. So I think it's good to have that. First of all, that rhythmical aspect back, but also that brutal, in your face. People, for good reason, a lot of people still compare us to the earlier Sepultura records. And I'm perfectly fine with that. I think it was one of the greatest bands there was. And I like that dual element of the South American sound, in terms of the rhythmical aspect, with the Latin rhythms, with a lot of bouncy parts, and groovy parts. But on the same on the other hand, you have that brutal, in your face aspect, that really almost hardcore intensity.
Absolutely, yeah. I can definitely hear the comparisons to early Sepultura. Even though it's not like you say, it's not like Criminal and Pentagram are exact copies of Sepultura, like that. It's more that South America has that distinct sound of Latin beats with a real aggression and a real ferocity that comes from the culture and your environment, as well as your musical influences.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, back in the 80s and early 90s, there was still in metal, you had a regional sound. You had like the Gothenburg bands versus the Stockholm bands. They sounded different. And you knew, oh, this is UK death metal, or this is German death metal, or Dutch death metal. It all sounded a bit different. Or Bay Area thrash versus New York thrash and stuff like that. And there was definitely was that South American sound. That so many people, especially in Europe, UK and Sweden, I've spoken to loads of people who are really into that scene. Be it early Sepultura or Pentagram or Sarcophago and whatever. So I think we have that. We still have that in our sound. And it's obviously not as brutish as Sarcophagus or Chacal or any of those bands. It's more maybe well, with better musicians. That's it now. It's been 30 years or something. But I think that element is still prevalent in our sound, and I really like that.
Absolutely, yeah. And like I say, from a fan's perspective, it's great to hear that again. Not to say that it was completely missing from previous Criminal records or anything like that, but to have that reinvigorated South American vibe about it is great, And there does seem to be quite a lot of interest and quite a buzz about Sacrificio. So I think maybe that's a big reason.
I hope so. So I think another one of the reasons that contributed to the way the album turned out is definitely the fact that it was written in the rehearsal room, as opposed to someone writing riffs in front of their computer, and copying and pasting and putting a song together and mailing it to the drummer, learn this and we'll see you at the studio. This was very different. It was just Danilo and me in the studio, a drum kit, an amp, a guitar, making noise, just bouncing ideas off each other, and with that immediacy, when you play something and say, no, that doesn't really work, let's change it, or this needs a real cool break right now, or whatever, or let's extend this part because it's really cool, or whatever, and that spontaneity really shows in the music, I think, and that's why the songs are also short, because when you're writing on your own, it's easy to draw something out, and just, I'll just do this again, I'll just paste it again, and this kind of stuff. But then when you're playing it, you're like, no, this is enough, that's it. This is gotta be short and sweet and fucking brutal, So that's why most of the songs on the album are below the 3-minute mark, or around the 3-minute mark, because I think you say what you say with the song, and that's it, that's what you have to say.
Absolutely. No, I've always been a big fan of that approach as well. That's why I can never get into prog. But it's and also when you're working those out with somebody in the same room, like you say, it's all well and good recording it and sending it over. Am I working again now?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, sorry about that. But to go back to my little rant there, when you're working with someone in the rehearsal room, or that you're able to fix things a little bit quicker, I think, because the other person will know what's not working. So they'll be able to go, this is maybe what you need to do instead of sending over the riff and then going, no, that's not work, because then you take it upon yourself. You take too long to kind of change the riff or whatever it is you need to do.
Yeah, it's an entirely different way of writing, and I think it's a very selfish way of writing. I mean, a lot of people probably do it because it's the easiest way to do it. Just you record at home and that's it. But you need that group dynamic. Well, in this case, it was just two people in the room. But you need the dynamic to really create music that speaks to someone else, I think. Writing riffs is easy. Writing songs is not so easy.
Absolutely. That's a really good way of putting it, I think.
Mm.
Something else very eye-catching about this album, as it should be, is the artwork. The artwork's very kind of apocalyptic, but without being cliche. I think it's also that blend of brutality and art itself, rather than just being violence. How satisfied are you with the artwork, and how well do you think it represents the music?
Well, I'm super happy with the artwork. Gary Ronaldson is responsible for it, but I gave him very, very accurate guidelines, actually, of what I wanted in the cover and the way I wanted it to look. I really wanted that kind of almost a grindcore look, like the albums like World Downfall, from Terror.
Absolutely, what I was thinking.
Stuff like that, that is really iconic and really like it sticks in your head. And the album, I mean, the music as well has got to do a lot with that era, with like the early 90s, Napalm Death and Terrorizer, and there's a lot of elements of that in the music too. So as far as the look goes, I think he absolutely nailed it. But also, the different elements and how they connect with the lyrics and with what's happening in Chile. It's he did his research. I don't think he's ever been to Chile, but he did his research. And he came up with all these brutal images. That yeah, he absolutely nailed it, and I'm super happy with it.
Excellent. Obviously, you've been playing in some very notable grind bands recently, both of which with Shane Embry, of course, I think.
Mm-hmm.
How's that experience playing in grindcore bands or death grind bands changed or affected Criminal?
It may have rubbed off a little bit on Criminal because there's more. I mean, we've had the odd blast beat in the past, especially on No Gods, No Masters. That was our most experimental album probably, and then we had a few later on. But this is actually the most brutal Criminal album ever. And it definitely, you just get used to stuff like this, and then you don't want to go back to the, I don't know, to what you always did,
Yeah.
it's you cross that frontier, you know, that limit, and you don't want to go back, you know. But it's still, I think, for some reason, with all the brutality and all the intensity, for some reason, still people uh, label us as a thrash band, and that's cool in a way, you know, because we have that element too, you know. We have that. That mix of death thrash, you know, what band comes to mind? Something like Demolition Hammer or Epidemic. These bands that were right in between death metal and thrash metal. They were brutal enough for the death metal crowd, but not too brutal for the thrash crowd. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I always felt we've been somewhere in there, you know. And it's cool because you can write a catchier song like Sona Sacrificio, for instance, you know. But then there's others on the next single is gonna be the opening track, which is called "Live on Your Knees," and there's another song called "Theocracy" on the album, which is just really, really intense and brutal. And I'm thinking people are gonna go like, "Whoa, they really mean it." So to answer your question, I think it probably has something to do, you know, with the fact that I've been playing in Brujeria and Lockup. By the way, we've just finished recording a new Lockup album as well, which was gonna come out in, I think, November or something like that.
Oh, right, good.
Yeah, be on the lookout for that as well.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask about that a little bit later, because I've heard that the title is "The Dregs of Hades," but I can't find anything clarifying that on like a Wikipedia page or anything like that. So, is
But
that still the title of the album?
yeah. I can confirm that's the title of the album. We are actually checking the artwork, you know, and all the layout and all that as we speak. So it's like really close to going to the pressing plant, you know. So and I'm really satisfied with it. And that album was we wrote in confinement, and I recorded my parts here at home. That's what I did during the pandemic, you know, and. I'm super happy with the way it turned out. You know, same guy who mixed the Criminal album has also mixed the Lockup record. You know, and it's just
Excellent.
it's insane. If you thought we couldn't get faster, you know, we got Adam from Misery Index in the band now.
Yeah.
You know, who's he's just a fucking machine, you know, and it's just insane. And having the dual vocal attack as well, you know, with Kevin and Tom are in the band, it's just it's insane.
Yeah, man, I'm really, really excited to hear it because obviously Kevin is one of the best grindcore vocalists there ever has been. So to have him in the band was a great addition. And Thomas, everybody loves At the Gates, and of course he's worked with Lockup before. So to have the two of them together is it's like a wet dream almost. It's from an
And I
extreme.
can on one song there we even have all three historic Lockup singers
Oh,
because
Peter's
Peter
back.
also he just sang a chorus, you know,
Yeah,
just rah, rah, you know, that's it. But he's there, you know, and then in one song you have the three of them.
I'm trying to watch my language because my niece is in the room, but that's exciting. That's super exciting.
Your picture's frozen, but I don't mind. I can hear you still. And
Okay.
well, while we're at it, I can also tell you that we are finally finishing the new Brujeria record as well, which has taken like 4 or 5 years to record. I mean, I think we started recording the music. I shit you not. I think we started like 5 years ago to record the music.
Yeah.
Four. And but. Juan Bruce finally get vocals and mix as well. So that will probably come out next year, at the beginning of next year, or something like that.
Jesus. Yeah, if there was a positive to come from the coronavirus, it was the COVID 666 single. So hearing the new Brujeria album is right
Well,
on
it
the
was just
verge
a
of being
silly.
completed. It's,
It was just a silly thing to do, but it was fun, you know.
yeah,
We had fun, but people, you know, how the fans sometimes they get really upset it's too punk rock or whatever, it's too happy, it's too funny. And but the new album, they're in for a fucking surprise, man, because we're going straight back to the first couple Brujeria albums, man. It's
nice.
really with these dissonant chords, and then and these really fucking chilling speeches, in Spanish, and stuff like that. And then it's got a lot of grindcore, it's. I think it will come out great, man. It's I'm really proud of the work we did there, and I can't wait for people to finally hear it.
Awesome, man. But you know what? I'm happy as a pig in shit right now hearing that there's a new Brujeria album nearly finished and lock up in November, and well,
Yeah.
that's me made up for the rest of the week. I'm happy as can be, and I was lucky enough to see you with Brujeria twice on 70,000 Tons of Metal last year, and that was a blast. So Brujeria is always great live, but there's something about being joined by a group of Mexicans and Puerto Ricans and now singing La Migra that really hits home. It really emphasizes the point.
Absolutely. I mean, everywhere in the world where we play, there's some Latinos that come to the shows, man, and it's crazy, man. Now they just make themselves heard, But it's funny also how, I don't know, you go to like Czech Republic, for instance, and people absolutely love Brujeria, and I to see I mean, why? Why do these people like this? But I guess there is a connection, and yeah, it's great, man. It's we've been to Japan and people went crazy, and Australia and everything, So yeah, it's really a blast to play in that band.
Awesome. It really is one of those bands I think has always had really good points, but it's also a very fun band. It's one of those. It's like if you're gonna party at an election, I guess that's the band you want because it's gonna make a political point, but you're gonna have a fucking great time.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, written about really important subjects like the immigration stuff like that, the racism and stuff like that. But there's been a huge vocals as well, and the whole concept of the band. I mean, if people don't get it, and if they, I mean, I honestly, I think maybe the first two albums, if they came out now, people they would be cancelled, because people would just not get it, And I'm glad that the guys did their footwork ages ago, So people know already. I mean, they've earned their space, The people know what it's about.
Yeah.
And no one's gonna fuck with us now. I mean, there was some controversy with the COVID video because someone posted. I mean, not the song itself, but something in the text they posted. There was about Chinese people eating bats or something like that. But I mean, yeah. Oh, it's racist. Okay, there you go. You gotta fucking cancel that. Then erase it. Okay, everyone happy now. But yeah, I mean, if the day that Brujeria stop offending people, it's the day to stop the band, maybe,
Yeah. Yeah. But nice. So now that I'm happy for the rest of the month knowing about the Lockup and Brujeria albums, let's get people even happier and go back to talk about the new Criminal album.
Sure.
Obviously, we mentioned before that there was a technical issue, namely that I'm technically a fucking idiot. So could you please explain the title of Sacrificio, please?
Yeah. There's areas in Chile that are called Zona de Sacrificio, which basically means sacrifice area, sacrifice zone. Which are parts of the country that have literally been sacrificed to the big industry. They spill toxic waste into the water. They blow toxic fumes into the air. To the point where schools have had to be closed because kids were getting intoxicated with the chemicals. And those, yeah, and it's like the popular denomination for those zona de sacrificio. And we kind of wanted to take it a step further and say kind of the whole country has been sacrificed, because it's been so long, 30 years of democracy now, but all the politicians are bought by the big capital, and they don't care about the people. They just line their pockets, and make the laws to benefit the rich, and people have had enough, and that's why this big uprising happened in October of 2019, and as a Chilean, we couldn't really not be stay indifferent to that. We had to say something about it, even though we live far away. I mean, I at least live far away, and I wasn't even in the country when it happened, but that's why I'm not portraying myself as a victim or whatever, but I needed to write about it. It's like chronicling a process, a historic process, and I hope this will all go in a good direction,
Yeah, I hope so. Like you mentioned before, there's a new what could you call it, a declaration? Is it a constitution?
New constitution is being
Being
drafted.
drawn up. Do you know yet what's going to be in there, or
No, because the people who are supposed to write it, they were just elected recently, and they just got together, and they had to figure out how they would function first, and all that, like to make their internal rules and all that, it's because it's a sovereign body, and they kind of make their own rules, and on how they want to function, all democratically, obviously. So you just have to wait and see. I think in the next few months we'll know more about the real contents of it, and next year we'll have to vote about it, So we'll see. We'll see. I'm hopeful. I'm generally not an optimist when it comes to people, but
yeah,
in this case, I'm hopeful,
absolutely. And I think, like you said, where you've seen for yourself the power of the Chilean people coming together and um, refusing to pay the metro fares and all this kind of thing. So that must be what gives you that sense of optimism, is that you've seen what can happen when people come together.
Well, yeah, because this whole thing is driven by the younger generations, I grew up under a dictatorship, so I was happy when democracy returned to Chile. I was happy I was lucky enough to have a career, but there's literally millions of people for whom nothing has changed in 30 years, so they don't see why they should be happy with that democracy. It wasn't really a real democracy, So yeah, I mean, I understand the frustration, I understand the anger. I regret that there was violence, and but apparently that was the only way people had to really make themselves heard. It's sad but true. So yeah, a few songs on the album deal with this, and it's not a concept album as such, but yeah, as we talked about the artwork, and obviously some songs deal with that as well.
Yeah, no, that's good. And that's a kind of a grindcore aspect of it as well. Grindcore's always had that social, political vibe about it. Not to say this is necessarily a political album; it's more of a societal album, if you like. And then again, that's always been there in thrash as well. And criminal, like you say, has always been lumped in with thrash metal bands.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like that since the beginning, since Criminal started, we've always had that social, political component in the lyrics, and when I mean, this is a very important time to do that as well, And I've always been inspired, by the old punk bands, like the Discharge and Exploited and stuff like that, So we want to have that in our message,
Excellent. I think criminal fans will be wanting to hear that as well, And anyone that's interested should want to check it out as well.
Sure. I think we need to start wrapping up, if that's okay.
I was just about to say, yeah, it's probably about time to call it off now. So I'll just say thank you very much for your time. I really do appreciate it, Anton. I'm sorry about the issue beforehand.
No problem.
So, cool. Look after yourself and best of luck with all the albums.
I was interviewing the Opeth drummer for a Chilean radio station once, and exactly the same thing happened to me. So,
Okay.
and he was
Nice to
cool
know I'm
enough
not the
to
only one.
fucking do it again as well. So, there you go.
Muchas gracias por tu vez y muchas gracias. Mi español es terrible, lo siento.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good, man. Thank you for the support, and yeah, we'll probably, hopefully, speak together when the Lockup album comes out.
Excellent. I hope so.
All right. Take care,
Bye
man.
now.